So are we ready to go yet?
Yep.
Are we?
Yep. It just turned the time. All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. And thank you also to Blackfoot Communications for sponsoring the conference. We're going to have a great time today. We're here to talk about traditional games. Greg, whenever you're ready, take it away.
All right. Okay. How are you all?
Good.
So can I see everybody? Is there a way of I can see everybody that's in classroom and see everybody's face?
I'm thinking.
I don't care if you guys have bedhead or, you didn't brush your teeth yet, as long as I can see you.
We can't see everybody at once, but if they talk, they'll pop up big.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're gonna do some fast introductions here so I could see who's all in class, okay?
And if you could please mute your microphone if you aren't speaking, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
So when you introduction, just tell me who you are, where you teach, and what tribe you're from. Everyone's from a tribe, so just give me a little bit.
We can call on people too.
So whoever wants to go first, don't be shy.
I'll go first. I'm Hallie Richmond. I just took a new teaching position at Galata Elementary School, and I'll be teaching kindergarten through 8th grade. It's just a rural 2-room schoolhouse, and it's just me.
All right, nice to meet you. What
Nice
tribe
to
are
meet
you
you.
from?
Just a happy tribe.
Are you native, Irish, Russian, Ukrainian?
I'm mostly German.
German? Okay. Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Hallie?
meet you.
Is that your name, Hallie? Okay, Hallie. Nice to meet you, Hallie. All right, who's next in Brave and Awake?
I'll go. We need to mute somebody. Okay, my name is Lori Frescus. I'm a student teacher at Creston Elementary School. I'll be student teaching 2nd grade, and my tribe is Scotch, Irish, and Germanic.
Oh, all right. Nice to meet you. Welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Next.
Martha Decrane, Prior Public Schools. I'm from the Crow tribe.
Oh, hello. How are you? Way down that way. Is your mother Anna?
No, I'm married to a Decrane.
Oh, okay. I used to work down that way. All right, welcome. Nice to have you.
But I know her.
Games.
I'll go next.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Liz. I am an English teacher in Billings. I teach at Billings Adult Education. And my tribe is basically German.
German. All right. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Angel Juarez. I teach at 3rd grade at Clinton Elementary School, and I'm Little Shell and Irish.
Little Shell and Irish. All right. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming.
I am Kathy Hall, and I teach special ed for Ronan School District. I work at Pablo Elementary School, and we're on the reservation here. I have a lot of native students. I am actually Norwegian.
Norwegian. All right. Nice to have you.
I'm Susan Lunstra. I am retired from Bynum School, and I'm French.
You're French. Geez, I forgot how to say good morning in French. Anyhow, good morning. Thanks for coming. Hi, Karen.
Hi. Let Susan go ahead. She started.
Okay, Susan.
No, I'm all done.
Oh, okay. I'm Karen Peterson. I'm back for more. And I teach at Hellgate Elementary. And I come from the tribes of Finland, not Ireland, very little. Finland, Iceland, and a little bit of Russian.
All right. Nice to have you back again.
I'm Trisha Burgess. I teach second grade in Bonner. My tribe, according to Ancestry.com, is some Great Britain and Irish and Scottish.
All right.
Me.
That's cool, huh? Nice to have you. Next. Who's brave?
So I'm Taylor Epeen, and I teach in Trout Creek, which is in way northwestern Montana, if anybody knows where that is, or Trout Creek is. And my roots are German and Irish, and I have family history in Newfoundland.
Oh, Newfoundland. Oh, awesome. I have good friends from Port Hope Simpson.
Oh, very cool.
Nice to have you here. And I have a lot of friends out there in Trout Creek. Hello, Trout Creek people.
Hi, I'm Kylie Knobloch. I teach at Bernie Elementary School. It's just a little country school. I teach K-8, just a one-room schoolhouse, and my tribe is Northern Cheyenne.
Northern Cheyenne, all right. Nice to have you here.
Hi,
My
I'm
son dances
Carolyn.
with your people.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Go ahead. Carolyn. I teach at Willard High School in Missoula, Montana, and my tribe. I'm Calabrian and Neapolitan from southern Italy, and I would classify Brooklyn and New Jersey as well.
All right. All right. Nice to have you.
Hi, I'm Kate Barley. Hi, Carolyn. I was really excited to see you. I also teach in Missoula County Public Schools. I am teaching 6th grade social studies and ELA. And my kids are noisy and baking. I apologize ahead of time.
That's
Hello.
awesome. Nice to have you.
Hello, I'm Darlene Hartman, and I am a teacher and principal at Dayton Elementary here at Dayton, right on Flathead Reservation. And this is my 3rd year. I'm delighted, and we have wonderful children. We're looking forward to opening face-to-face, one of the very few that can do that and are doing that. And we're excited. I am from many places. My tribe comes from both Germany and England and Scotland. Darlene Hartman, thank you.
Great. Nice to meet you, and thanks for coming.
Hi, I'm Sandy McDonald. I'm from Phillipsburg, Montana. My tribe is German, French, and Scottish.
All right. Nice to see you again, Sandy.
I'm back.
I'm Melissa Potts. I'm from Creston School in Kalispell, and I teach 1st grade. And I'm a little bit of Norwegian and German.
All right. Thanks for coming, Melissa.
I'm Shanta Milne, and I teach at Creston School as well, and in Kalispell, and my tribe is Nepalese.
Where's that from?
Nepal.
Nepal.
Mhm.
Wow. Nice to have you here.
My name is Jen Johnson, and I teach 2nd grade here at Creston as well, and I'm mostly German.
All right. Thanks for coming.
My name is Andrea Tugas, and I teach preschool through 8th grade at Ovando School, and I am mostly Scottish and Irish.
All right. Nice to meet you, Andrea. Glad you're here.
Hi, I'm Annette Johnson. I'm at Sealy Lake or Sealy Swan High School, and
I'm mostly German and English, a little bit of Irish and Welsh.
All right. Nice to meet you. I can hear your voice, but I can't see you.
My name's
Your camera's muted.
Jill Boyles, and I'm a math and health enhancement teacher at Willard Alternative High School, and I'm from Great Britain.
From Great Britain. Nice to meet you. I'm glad you're here.
Hello, I'm Kristen Cole from Plains High School, and I teach 7 through 12 art. I'm French, English, and Irish. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jessica Cantlin. I am from the Flathead Indian Reservation. Born and raised here. I attended Salish Kootenai College. Uh-oh, my screen just left. Can you guys still see me?
I see you.
Okay, I'll just keep talking then. I can't see you anymore, but I teach kindergarten at K. William Harvey in Ronan, and I'm really excited to be here to learn more about traditional games. We've done some at some field days that our school has hosted before, so I just learned this last spring that I am 47% Irish and British. I had no idea. I thought I was Norwegian, according to my grandparents. And they're, yeah, so it was fun to learn some new things. I'm excited to learn from you guys today.
All right. Thanks for coming, Jessica. I keep seeing a little baby on the screen. I want to meet that baby.
Hello, I think you're talking about this baby.
Yep.
My name is Kara. This is Renly, my daughter. She had her shots yesterday, so she's a little cranky. So that's why she's here with me.
Okay.
Yeah, I teach 3rd grade at Bonner School, and I am mostly Irish and Norwegian. So.
Irish and Norwegian. All right. Nice to meet you, Kara and baby. Hope you feel better, kiddo.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, there you are.
My name is Melissa McKeldry. I'm a descendant from the Confederated Salish Kootenai tribes, and I'm also Irish. And I teach down in Dixon, 2nd and 3rd, and then 5th through 8th home ec.
I think I got all of that, but a little bit just kind of faded off into cyberspace there.
Yeah, my microphone doesn't work very well.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome. Glad you're here. Anybody else out there in the classroom, the virtual classroom?
Hi, my name is Sarah Big Sam. I teach pre-K through 8th grade music and also run the after school program at Dixon School on the Flathead Indian Reservation. And my roots include Swedish, Swiss, and German.
All right. Glad to have you here, Sarah.
Hi, I'm Jenny Wade. I teach at Avon, 5th through 8th grade, and I'm German, Norwegian, and Irish.
All right. Nice to meet you.
It's not just your time.
Is that it, Sam?
Looks like it.
All right. And yourself, Sam?
Oh, can everybody hear me okay from over here? Hi, I'm Sam. I'm helping moderate and facilitate today. I live in Missoula, Montana, and I am German and Russian. So that's a little bit about me.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. I am glad to see your smiling faces today, and look at all your homes and things like that. And I could, I'm really nosy, so I could see how everybody lives. Knows I want some of them cookies them kids are baking. A little bit about me. My name is Craig Falcon. I am Scapi Picani, which is Blackfeet, Southern Blackfeet, and I'm also White Clay. Anybody know where White Clay is? Well, it's the word we should have used as a tribe, but those French, they couldn't understand sign language, and when we were signing them who we were, they thought it was gros ventre, which means big belly. Wrong interpretation. So it's actually the people that live under the falls, the white clay people. That's who I am. And can you guys hear me? Just wave if you can hear me. Okay. All right, cool. So I'm a cultural education consultant. I teach probably 10 different programs. This is traditional games, just happens to be one of them. The background picture that you see right here is who I was named after. Original night gun, Wallace Night Gun. My Blackfeet name is Sabina Maka, which is night gun. One thing you'll notice for some of you German tribal members is, see where my stick is pointing along his leggings? What do you see there? Can you see that? Right where my stick is. I mean, right there. Can you see that?
I can type in the chat box.
Do any of you know what that is?
They can type in the chat box.
Okay, that is actually a swastika. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, our history tells us that, see, the swastika has been part of the, not only the Blackfeet culture, but so many other cultures for thousands and thousands of years. So our theory is this, that when Maximilian came to visit Montana exploring, they stole our swastika and put it on a German flag. But actually, the meaning is totally different. The swastika is a representation of the butterfly or the moth for healing. So that's just a fun fact that I want to give you guys. And if you look at, figure out how to do this. See this rattle that I'm pointing at? That is actually a ceremonial rattle for the Brave Dog Society, which he was the war chief for. And it almost looks like a donut. But when you see that rattle, you know that's the head man, okay? I do cultural consulting, and I work in schools K through 12, museums, universities, and I also work in the film industry. So if any of you want me to come to your school, I can come to your school. I've been to several schools in Montana over the past 2 decades, and I work not only with just the teachers, but I work with the student body as well. So if any of you want me to come out, I'm more than welcome to come out and teach some cool things, and we can have a whole day of traditional games, or a whole afternoon, or whatever your school likes to do. So today, we're going to talk about all the different types of games. And since this is a really strange teaching environment for me, this is the first time I'm ever doing a Zoom class. So I apologize if I don't teach as well as I do when I have everyone face to face and I have all these games spread out over tables. Can we switch to that picture of the games on the tables, please? If I didn't have Sam, I would just be totally lost. I mean, she's a godsend. I had a night of horror with my computer, wouldn't do anything. But of course, my great big body is in the way of the picture I'm trying to show. Okay, Craig, get skinnier.
Craig, do you have any handouts at all?
No, usually I do everything with my handouts is my presentation. So this is Swan River School. This is my table at Swan River School when we did a traditional games presentation. Some of you may have been to that school, but this is how it's usually laid out. Usually have all the games and we talk a lot and we play a lot. Since we can't play a lot, I guess we're going to talk and we're going to make things, okay? So today, we're going to talk about a traditional Blackfeet game. Now, this Blackfeet game could be very similar to other games that you play in your tribes also. This is the hoop and arrow game. This is the arrow that we use. It's a long arrow. As you can see, it's about up to my ribs here. It's balanced. Got a little handle here, got a little horsehair on there for identification of arrow. Now you can make an arrow like that, or you can make an arrow like this. See where I just stripped off the bark and I just made 1 point sharp and a handle to throw. You can decorate your arrows any way you want. So yesterday, I went out and I cut 2 different types of willows. One is a Savisberry willow. I love working with Savisberry because they're easy to straighten out and they last forever. The second one was a diamond willow. Same thing, it's very durable and makes great arrows and they're easy to straighten out and they last forever. So one thing I want to teach you guys about when we were making traditional games is one of the most important lessons is to use everything that you've taken out of the woods, okay? So if you take a willow, it's going to have a base. Hey, Daisy, I see you.
Just popping in. Hi, Craig.
So when you're out in the woods and you're collecting materials to make traditional games, don't go out there and just chop, 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 chop. One willow can make several games, okay? So say we went out and got this willow. The base of it is thicker than the rest of it. So what did I do? What did I do? Here's the base. I cut it off. I hope you can all see this. I'm trying to do this the best I can.
Where do these willows grow?
These willows grow around any water source. So you'll find them even in your backyard. So the first part of that willow, I'm going to make a stick like this for a game that we call Buffalo Runner. Now, when you're making Buffalo Runner sticks, they're going to start like this, right? Okay, now I know where the camera's at. You're going to start like this, raw, right out of the woods, but they're going to end up looking like this when you're done decorating, because every individual that plays Buffalo Runner is going to mark their stick so they can self-identify with it. See different markings. Some people will carve them like this. And a lot of these things, a lot of these carvings were done by kids and decorated by kids. So you can decorate with beads, you can decorate with feathers, anything you want. Dollar store, you can make some really cool games with materials out of the dollar store. So that's the bottom of the willow, right? That's our Buffalo Runner stick. That makes the game to chase buffalo over the Pishkin, the buffalo jump. So we're going to make one of these today. And with the rest of the willow, we're going to make our Blackfeet hoop and arrow out of one of these babies right here. Or if we're playing Salish hoop and arrow, we can make 4 shorter arrows out of the same willow. Bam. Wait. So, and we'll talk about a little bit about the Salish game. The Salish game is made with a hoop. The hoop has a dream catcher pattern on it. And the Salish arrows are right here. Each one of them, each player will have a symbol on their arrows. It'll be marked. This one, okay, I gotta get focused here. All 4 of these arrows have the same design, a sunrise, and they're marked in green. So this is this player's set of arrows.
Craig, I do have another question.
Yeah.
When you go to schools for games, is there a time for students to make some of their own game pieces?
That's a good question. There is, but I wouldn't recommend kids making games because it could be a liability issue because you're using tools like this. And I think that's a big no-no in school. So maybe a teacher needs to make their own game sets. And I wouldn't want no kid carving a willow and accidentally cutting a main artery in their leg or something, you know. There is safety classes on how to whittle and things like that, but I still wouldn't trust a kid with a knife. It's like a kid running down the hallway with scissors, right? Or like, what's his name from that old-time Christmas movie with his first BB gun, he'll shoot his eye out. So kids whittling, I recommend no. Unless you really know that kid and they're very skilled with the knife. Did I answer all that question?
Yep, I believe so.
Okay.
And part of somebody had also asked if you were willing to come in virtually if their visitors are not allowed at that time.
When I teach at a school, parents are welcome. School board members are welcome. Anybody in the community is welcome as long as the school allows them to come in. So I like teaching in big groups. So out of that one willow, we can make a Salish hoop and arrow game. We could make a Blackfeet hoop and arrow game. Now you're thinking to yourself, okay, this guy's so smart. What can he all make out of that willow? There's a hoop. With the very tip of the willow, it's so flexible. Before it dries, you can make a hoop. And how did he tie the hoop? With all the shavings that he took off this willow, the skin of the willow, he made string. And that string tied everything together. It's an all natural play set right there that you and your family could make when you're out in the woods, or if your teachers are out camping together, you guys could make a play set. And you can get these things operational. But if you have to go to Joann's Fabrics, or you have to go to Walmart and buy some hoops, these hoops are made of metal. Wrap them in buckskin. This is a difficult way to teach, but I'll wing it the best that I can. I pre-cut buckskin string, okay? Only a 1/4 inch wide. That way, you could wrap your metal all the way around, like so, and see, I can see what I'm doing, but I can't see what I'm doing. Okay. This is difficult. So if you want white buckskin on there, you want gold buckskin, dark buckskin, whatever color buckskin you want on there, wrap it around, tie it off first at the beginning, then wrap it and wrap it, wrap it, wrap it till you get to the other end, and then just sew it to the other end. It'll stay nice and tight, okay? So that's how you wrap that metal hoop. If you want to do it a more modern way where your game equipment will last a lot longer, because these things can take a beating. I recommend that you, whether you're doing the Blackfeet style or you're doing the sailor style, to make at least 5 or 6 of these, and I'll explain why later. And make them in all sizes, because this is a hunting game. This is a warrior game, and your enemy or your food source comes in many different sizes. So what else can you make out of that one willow? You got the arrows, you got the hoops, you got your buffalo runner stick. You could make smaller games. Now this game is a really fun game. See these little pegs here? Have any of you heard of stick game or hand game? All right. It's a late night game for the night hawks. I can only play till about 10:30 and then I have to go to bed. But this game is really fun because this is the child's version of that game. I got to figure out where to stand. I keep on wanting to talk to you guys really close, like you're right in front of me. But that isn't working. So, God, you smell good. Smell of willow, just fresh. But this is a great game. It's like stick game, and remember, we're still talking about working with that one willow, so we don't waste anything. That's the native motto, you know. Use everything and don't waste anything. Just like a buffalo, you know, we use everything on a buffalo. So you make 3 little sticks, and you have 1 rock. So just like in stick game, you're hiding bones, right? And one's marked and one's not marked. So in this game, you're hiding a small rock since these are little kids. And they'll play like they're adult relatives, you know. They'll be hiding it and dancing around. And, you know, if you watch YouTube on different stick games, especially YouTube videos of stick game from like the Northwest Territories, now those people, they just kind of got their own funk, and they're really fun to watch because they throw in all kinds of theatrics when they're hiding the stone or the bone. And it's just interesting to watch, and it's fun to watch them play. But you hide this. Again, 1 willow and a rock, all natural materials. So far, $0. I think everyone's school budget can handle that. Now this game, now do I want to go into this game all the way? I'll save that for later just in case I run out of time. So out of all natural materials, you got that 1 willow, and then you got this other game. Some people call this game Make the Stick Jump. But that's not its tradition. That's not its traditional name. So this game originally is to teach young people how to hunt prairie chickens. Those prairie chickens out in the woods that you hear all the time making that beating sound. Bum, 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 bum. We used to use this game to teach kids to accuracy. So you take your first stick 5 feet in front of you, second stick 5, 5, 5, 5, until you have 5 sticks out there. Each kid will have 3 rocks. They'll stand behind a line that you mark, and you'll throw and try and get points off hitting each one of these sticks. And that's how person with the most points is the winner. Now, it really does work because when I go hunting and I don't want to shoot my gun to scare away the elk and deer, I'll use a rock and I will knock me in the head a prairie chicken or a mountain grouse. And right there I have instant barbecue chicken on the Barbie, right in the woods. And there's nothing better than a great tasting chicken. And since we're just talking about cooking just for a second, I'm going to share one of my world famous recipes with you guys. Since I am the god-awful, most rotten cook in the world, but I can cook one thing really well, and that's wildlife. So when you go fishing this year, or you go out and get yourself a grouse, grab a bunch of them Savis berries or huckleberries and stuff it. Stuff the inside where the guts were, load it with berries, and then cook it on an open fire, either wrapped in tin foil and whatnot. And I tell you what, when that fish or that bird is done, it has a taste of huckleberry or Savis berry. And then when you're done eating the meat, you got you open up the other part where the guts were, and it's filled with hot blueberry pie. I mean, Salisbury and huckleberry pie right there out in the woods. No oven, no crust. Just, it's one of my favorite foods when I'm camping. So, we're still working with One Willow. One Willow provided all these different sets of games. Pretty amazing what you can do with just one willow. Now, 2 steps that I'm going to mention when you're gathering things. And this is something that you don't need to be a medicine man or a holy man, or, you don't need to be any of that to do. But it's all about respect. So when we're out gathering materials for whether it's games or ceremony, we always have to give something to take something. So an important lesson in traditional games is, since you're always getting natural materials, learn to give. Give some tobacco, put it on the ground and say a prayer. Say a prayer in the way you were brought up, whether you're Catholic, Christian, Jewish, or Native American. That prayer is the same. Put your tobacco down and then cut, then take, then you're okay. Now, when you're all done with that one willow and there's pieces left over, sweep them all together, put them in a bag, take them down to the river or the pond or anywhere where there's water, dump them back into the water source, say a prayer, let them go, and then that life cycle just continues. Okay? That's one thing I'd highly recommend, because everything is a living spirit. Everything. So you right then you just brought your game to life when you put that tobacco down for that game piece. So throughout the traditional games thing, I'm going to show you guys different games, and then I'm going to ask you guys, what is this game? Do you know any history about this game? So, bam. What is this game? I'm giving you guys clues that are like quiet clues.
Adlatl.
There you go. Yes. And do you know any history about the Atlatl?
Yeah, it was used when there were big animals, big mammoths, and they needed a way to kill them because they were so dangerous that they had to have something that went really, really far.
Yep.
The early peoples made that.
And you know what? This is a worldwide tool that we use as a game today, but it's a worldwide tool. Every race used this tool. Now, if you look at some of the mastodons and things like that, a lot of them were found frozen with like 50 arrowheads in them. So when a hunter's running, and he's chasing a mastodon, and he has 3 arrow shafts, and he has a little bag of arrow points, maybe 20 of them in there, that are detachable. After he shoots his 3 shafts, he actually has to run up to that mastodon to retrieve his shafts out of it and then reload. Can you imagine the bravery of the hunters back then? God, it's a young man's game. But also remember the power of this. Now I took one of these arrows and I threw it at a distance of 150 yards at a piece of plywood that was, I think it was 3/4 inch plywood. And the arrow went through the plywood.
Wow.
So these are a very effective, dangerous tool that we use as a game now. Now, we have the hoop and arrow game from the Blackfeet and the Salish. There's also another game that the Crow people they play. They have an arrow game. I don't go into their game because that game is the sacred game of theirs, and I don't have rights to talk about it. But I just wanted to mention that game. It's a really cool game. I've seen it played, and if you ever have an opportunity to watch them play that game, it's amazing. But all these hoop and arrow games like this are made to make warriors, made to make hunters, and they're also used in conflict resolution. You know, different tribes would play games against each other to resolve a dispute. And sometimes even a game would result in a war, you know, because it got too rough or somebody cheated or something. There's an old story about us and the Crees. At one time we had good relations with each other, and we're playing shinny. And when you play shinny, you have two big piles of goods that you give away as prizes when you play somebody else. The winner takes all the spoils, huh? Well, as the story goes, there's this one Cree player. He couldn't wait for the game to finish, so he went and took something out of that gift pile. And the Blackfeet seen it, and he wouldn't give it back, so the game turned into a war. And they fought, and geez, that's why we don't get along with Crees today, I guess. No, we get along with them. But back then we didn't. They were like one of our enemies, and we just tease them now. One thing about Native culture is we really tease. And in the Blackfeet culture, that's how we used to test people. If somebody came to camp and we wanted to see what type of person they were, whether they were going to be an ally or they're going to be an enemy. Now, how to do that is, even today this happens at home because people tease just mercifully and wicked just to see if you could dish it back, or to see if you get butt hurt and you get mad and you just stay mad the rest of your life. So that's how we judge different tribes based on their sense of humor. And we found good allies and we found enemies that way. So those old things that you remember, you can share with your classroom. Now, I teach a lot of different games. A lot of them don't use willow. A lot of them use like deer antler buttons. The Ojibwe dice game. The Ojibwe dice game has 5 deer antlers, and one side is painted solid, and one side is painted with a symbol on it. I got to get used to this camera. Can you guys see very well? See, one side is painted solid and one side's clear. Now this game is a really fun gambling game to play, but it's also good if you're picnicking and things like that. The kids could play for chores. But it's also good in a group setting. Can we have that picture of those kids playing? Sam?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can I have that next slide up?
one would you like? This one?
That one. Yeah.
Perfect. Sorry
All
about
right. Oh, I'm in the way again. Jeez. Okay. Look at those smiling faces. That's one of the schools I worked at in Montana, and they're playing the dice game. I'm trying to stay out of the way. This game right here. It's a good team game or an individual game. So if any of you went out in your yards and got a willow, you can work with me right now. And we're going to make an arrow. I've already taken off the bottom of the stick so I can make a buffalo runner stick. Now, if you guys have any questions on anything I'm talking about, like you say, okay, what's a buffalo runner stick? What's that for? Just ask me and I can talk to you right while I'm doing this. One of the things about making games is people say, well, how do you get these willows straight like an arrow? That's really simple because all you need is a 2x4 and some nails. And you tack your nails side by side in a long strip like that. And you could take a crooked willow and put it in there and let it dry and it'll be straight just like an arrow. Just some little tips that you can use when you're making your own stuff. And see, this willow here is kind of drying out a little bit, so it doesn't peel off in great big strips. If it was really wet, like when I picked it up yesterday, it'd come off really nice, but it was pretty hot yesterday, so I wasn't able to keep it fresh. You know, I got a crazy story to tell you guys while I'm doing this. We played that stick game at a conference in Billings one time, and when you play that game, you're supposed to bring a gift, right? And some of them Billings school teachers brought some of the craziest gifts. I mean, I have never ever seen gifts like this. One was a skull of a horse, but the one that really made me laugh was somebody brought in a live chicken. So we had to give away a live chicken. And there were some other funky things in there too. So Billings teachers are really creative.
We do have a couple questions in the chat.
Okay.
First one, how long is the initial willow? And if willow branches aren't accessible, what other kind of tree or bush would be usable?
Oh, okay. Good questions. Okay, so the length, the question on the length. For a man's size arrow, armpit. I just go with the armpit on a man. I'm 5'11", so there's my 5'11" armpit right there. So if a man's 6'4", have him, measure to his armpit. So with a little kid, have them measure to their armpit. Or if you're making something for a class and you have all different sizes of kids, I would say on a 6-foot person, go with their hip and just make the set all hip size, hip length. Okay? And probably as thick as your middle finger. And what else? Did I answer all that?
What other kind of tree or bush would be usable if willows are not accessible?
Okay. Try to stay away from pine, because pine dries really quick and it dries hard, so it kind of gets difficult to work with. But if you could find any type of, it doesn't have to be a willow, but any type of branch that is very green and young.
Would alder work?
Alder would work. as long as you put it together before it dries. The one thing about alder, the center comes out of the alder, out of the elderberry. Now, one cool fun fact about elderberry, okay? Elderberry is used to make flutes because the center comes out in the...
Yeah, I think it is. There may be others that join. So
It comes out in the perfect perfect hole for a flute.
I'll let you three talk.
So
But I'm looking at the handout, so.
you're getting you could use pretty much anything that's very green, but I'm not sure on its durability, on how long it'll last. That's why diamond willow and Savis berry bushes are my favorite. Choke cherry would work really well if you're in an area with a lot of choke cherry. But the main thing is to get them where they're nice and green and where the bark will come off easily.
We have someone asking about the rules of the dice game.
The rules of the dice game. Okay. Now you could play the dice game with several different rules depending on what tribe you're playing with. Okay. It is an Ojibwe game, but it's also a universal game, I found out. And a lot of different tribes do have their own versions of it. So it depends on what region you're at. So if you're playing let's go to the dice game. I'll quit whittling here. I'll just play a little bit of dice right now with you. Okay, so in the dice game, you always have 3 solid colors. I got 3 black ones here, right? Everybody can see that? And on the other side of them, it's just white. Okay, 3 white or 3 black. Then I have 2 that are just pure white. Now I could put symbols on all of these. You can make them all your own color, your own design, whatever you want. These go in the bucket here. I mean in the basket. I use a small basket, and I'd say this is for more advanced players. You could get bigger baskets for kids just starting out. But here's one of the main rules. When you're throwing your dice, all dice have to go above the basket rim here. If you throw and say 4 of them go above and 1 doesn't, that throw is disqualified. Okay? If one of these, if 4 land in the basket and 1 lands on the floor, disqualified. It goes on to the next person. Okay? So that's a main rule. And it's based on honesty, you know. So always somebody on the other side that'll be watching you very close saying, okay, that didn't cross. And see, there goes 1 dropping on the floor. I lost my turn. So we have 2 rows of kids like this. See these? Let me get out of the way. Let me figure out how to get out of the way. Okay. So we have 2 rows of kids here. 1 on this side and 1 on this side. They're playing this game. Say we're at the top over here with this young man right here, and he plays his round. Once he's done, he passes it over across the hall. I mean, across the way to the other team, to the next player, and it just goes back and forth like this until it reaches the end, and then it'll go back the other way. Now, one of the other rules about this game is if I score on my throw, I get to go again. And I could keep going as long as I'm scoring. But as soon as I break a rule or one of these drop on the floor, then it's the next person's turn. Okay? There's scoring sheets for this. If you want a scoring sheet, send me an email later and I'll email you a scoring sheet for this. This is easy to make. Deer antlers. Just cut them thin. Like I said, you have to have 3 that are dark on one side and light on the other. Let's see, cameras here. Okay, there we go. And then on these 2 that are just plain, you could have them plain, or you could put a design on there. You could put your own tribal design on there, or even your school logo or something like that. Just get creative, or have the kids put their own designs on them. Now these baskets are probably the easiest thing to get. I go to thrift stores to get my baskets because they have the best baskets.
We do have a question about how these games can be played using the 6-foot social distancing rule right now.
Ah, good question. Okay, that's a good question. And we can do it by using willows. So, if you teachers go out there and we're going to do a social distancing game, go cut a willow, a long arrow willow. And at one end, make sure it has a fork on it. Okay? Jeez. You know what I mean. A fork on it. So if we're playing social distancing rules and one team is 6 feet away from this team, they could finish their turn and then take the stick and push it across the floor to the next team. If you really want to practice being safe and you're having your students wear masks and they're also wearing gloves, that would be nice because they're touching the basket, you know. Don't let them touch it with their bare hands. So that's one way of doing it. If you're doing the hoop and arrow game, you can spread out your players 6 feet apart. Or see, there's 2 versions of playing this Blackfeet hoop and arrow game. One is say once one team is lined up all behind me, and there's 8 players, and then there's another team 18 feet away that's all lined up behind one player. And we can socially distance each other by 6 feet behind each side. Now this person on this side, when they roll the hoop down the center, in this Blackfeet version of the game, the hunter can run alongside and throw the arrow as long as the hoop is moving. Okay? Or that's the Kit Fox Society version. The Kit Fox is a youth society. So if you're playing it that way, that's a good way. Or if you're playing it where you can line up individual players 18 feet across from each other and then roll the hoop down the center, they still can run alongside and throw. That's the best way to play these games, social distancing. If we're playing without these pandemic rules, then we can gather them in larger groups closer together. But we're modifying things now, so we can do it. Now, the Buffalo Runner game, they were playing Buffalo Runner, and usually we line up a whole group, the whole classroom, or maybe the whole 3rd grade. There could be 80 kids out there, but nowadays we can't do that, so we have to modify it. So what we'll do is we'll spread out the kids 6 feet apart, as many as there is out there. In a football field, you could spread out a lot of kids. Keeping them 6 feet apart from each other may be the biggest task on your day because they're all going to want to be together. But they could play this game individually where you could have the starting line and you could put 2 on the starting line at the same time, 6 feet apart, and then they run as far as they can with that one breath with this Buffalo Runner stick and stab it in the ground. And then they wait for the next people, and you could run it that way. With the stick game, the child's version of stick game or hand game, you could spread them out in the gym floor or outside and do it the same way. I think with all these games, they've been modified for a pandemic. Because if you think about it, historically, our people did play these games during smallpox. They did play these games during the Spanish flu. And we're still here. Knock on wood. Okay, any more questions?
Someone did have a question about how you score the dice game.
Scoring the dice games. Okay. So on scoring the dice games, I want you to email me and I'll send you a score sheet. Okay? And it's nice and beautiful and in color.
And what's your email, Craig?
My email is nightgun, NIGHTGUN 007 at yahoo.com. And you could make up scoring patterns the way you want to make up scoring patterns, but I'll send you the basic general scoring pattern. And you know, for you teachers that are non-Indigenous, that work with multiple Indigenous students, when you make your game sets, make them reflect the different tribes in Montana, so they can understand all the different types of cultures. The same with the non-native student. The non-native student really needs to understand the different ways people live, the different cultures that they come from. And having games and things like that really breaks down those racial barriers and gives both native and non-native students a better understanding of each other. So it's like I said, these are great for conflict resolution or just building bridges. These, you know, and your game pieces always smell good. If any of you go to Sweat Lodge and you know how you smell the willows when they get really hot, this is what your game pieces will always smell like. That's a good smell. It always kind of makes you happy. Any other questions?
Not at the moment.
Okay, so we're still making our game piece here. As you can see, I got my handle almost ready. And hopefully I don't cut myself while I'm talking, or else I'd really look like a great teacher. Huh? You know, one thing about our culture, when we do things, we always bring in humor and we bring in life stories that remind us of what we're doing. So when I'm sitting here carving this, it reminds me of when I was in middle school and I went to my very first shop class. And the shop instructor was teaching us about tool safety and band saws and all this equipment inside the shop. And he was telling us all these safety things about how not to get your fingers cut off. And then right after he finished that spiel, we seen 3 of his fingers fly through the air. And he cut 3 of his fingers off. When you're doing things like this, it brings back those type of memories. I don't think he ever got those sewed back on. He was he had nubs after that. So see how easy this comes off? Right now the ladies are looking at me going, we have to vacuum all this up. You're making a big mess. And it smells really good. The smell of willow is something else. Now, if you get all these shavings also, you can do all kinds of things with these shavings. Like if you're making a shinny game, you got to have a ball, right, to play shinny? All these shavings that are hitting the ground can be all balled up, and when they dry, they'll make a hard ball. And then you just gotta sew the leather around it to keep it all together. So voila, just like that, I have an arrow. I have my handle to throw. It's the right length for me. Now, like I said, if you want to get these perfectly straight, take a 2x4 or a piece of plywood, put a roll of nails in really close to each other, the width of the willow, and put the willow in there and let it dry. And once it dries, you'll have a nice straight arrow. And just a tip, when you're making it's the same process if you're making a bow. If you're making a bow, you're going to have your nails the shape of a bow, and then put your willow in there. And it's going to come out perfect. So I have an arrow here. Just like the arrow that was made by some child. They made a nice arrow. They went and picked this willow out, and it hardly has any bend to it. So I'm using their creation as my example. So that's one arrow for your hoop game. Now, since we need a hoop, right? Now, either we could take the tip of the willow, like I said, the tip is very thin, and you can make a hoop out of that and tie it together, right? A little bit of buckskin, wrap your hoop. You can make a traditional hoop, or you can go to Walmart and get a big wire thing like this. Or if you have teenagers at home, a lot of teenagers like to wear those hoop earrings. You know, go steal a couple of those, and you can make some game pieces out of their hoop earrings. And remember, as you get more advanced at this game, the hoop gets smaller. So your teenage daughter may have smaller hoop earrings that you can confiscate from her, and you can make smaller targets. Now, one thing about the history of this game, like I said, if you're playing a Kit Fox version, that's a child's version where you're learning how the child plays this game. Now, after you become an adult, this game, the hoop gets smaller, and you're also playing this on horseback. Now, can you imagine a little hoop rolling across the ground like this, and you're on horseback with your bow, trying to shoot a heart shot on that? So our learning skills back in the day really taught us some cool skills to be warriors and to be hunters. Now, decorating. This is interesting about decorating. And some of you folks from different tribes may remember some stories, some long time stories. But you see these beads represent the different colors of horses. Now you're looking at me crazy now, going saying, there's no green horses. There's no, well, there's a red roan, but not that red. There's no baby blue horses. Now, if you look deeper into the history, you're going to find stories of holy or medicine horses. Like we have a story of a medicine horse that came out of Horse Lake. And it was multicolored. It had all different colors, almost like a rainbow trout. But it was a horse for healing. And as I did my research, the Nez Perce people out of the Clearwater River had also a medicine horse that came out of that river that was multicolored. So as you do your research, you're going to find a lot of similarities of different things that happen with different tribes that are the same. So these multicolors represent that spirit horse also. Now, the rules of this game. This is going to be kind of difficult to teach, but it's just like this game here. You have two teams, one on each side. Say we're playing this game, and we're going to spread these teams out 18 feet from each other and 6 feet apart from each other just to keep social distancing. And we're also going to say these lines on this picture here are the boundaries. On each side, they're 18 feet across, and those are the boundaries. A player cannot throw the arrow if they're inside the boundary. They have to stay on the outside of that imaginary line to shoot their arrow. If they come in and throw and they get a bullseye or something, they're disqualified. That throw is disqualified. You got to have that boundary on each side. That's one of the main rules there. Now, one of the other main rules is this is a kill shot. This is a hard shot. Say that's 10 points. These are lung shots, just like a hunter. You shoot for the lungs of the heart. Okay? Now, in order to register a kill or points, this arrow has to stick. Not stick in the ground, but stick in the hoop. If it goes all the way through the hoop, it doesn't count. Even if it's a bullseye, it doesn't count. It has to stay in the hoop. Okay? And that goes with both the Blackfeet game and the Salish game. You cannot go out. Oh, very, very important rule. Now this one, everybody has to follow. If we're playing this game in a group setting and there's multiple throwers, you, the teacher, are responsible. You are the head of that game. And this rule you must tell all the kids before they even start. Nobody can retrieve their arrows until the teacher says, retrieve arrows. Because you always have one of them kids that will run out there as soon as they're out of arrows, and pretty soon they're going to have an arrow in their eye or in their ear, and you're going to have some very irate parent ready to chew your head off. So be sure and express that rule over and over. If you see a kid break that rule, then that kid gets to sit in timeout for a while and think about it. Okay? Because the rules have to be respected, because these kids, even though the tip on this is not razor sharp or cannot penetrate skin, just to be safe, it can hurt somebody, especially if a kid throws it really hard. So retrieve arrows. That's the only time they can go out in the center and get their arrows.
And we do have a question. How is the hoop mounted as a target?
How is the hoop mounted as a target? Okay, so we have these two teams spread out 18 feet apart, right? And at the top here in the middle is the teacher. And at the bottom here is the teacher assistant or co-teacher. They're at both ends of the game. Say I'm at the top. I'm up here in the middle, and I have the hoop, and I am the one barking out instructions of retrieve arrows and all that good stuff. So I'm going to actually be playing pass with the teacher on the other side. And you want to roll it just like this. And you roll it across the ground. So it just runs across the ground, and these will bounce on bumps and things like that, just like a wild animal. So if you're playing a game, it's always good to make multiple hoops, because when you're hunting or it's a war game, you're not always just going to see one person out there. You may see several buffalo out there or several elk. So you want to take 5 in your hand as a teacher and throw them, because once you throw them, just like a natural herd, they're going to hit the ground and they're going to roll, but they're all going to roll in different directions. And that'll keep the hunter on their toes and which one they want to kill. Do they want to kill an old bull that's gristly and hard to eat, or they want to kill a nice young cow that's nice and tender, right? So it's not really mounted, it's mounted in your hand, and you are the person that's in control of it. Now, once it's thrown and it rolls down to the other teacher, and the other teacher picks it up, if your players are out of arrows, you can say retrieve arrows. If they still have arrows, then you could have the other teacher roll it back to you, and that student or students will be able to throw their remaining arrows until it comes back to me. And then I'll announce retrieve arrows. So it's not really mounted, it's just mounted in your hand. Okay? Anything else on that?
Is it possible to get details for these games in some kind of handout?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There is a resource with OPI. Okay, OPI Internet for All. Contact my brother, Donnie Wetzel. And he is actually my brother. You could tell him his brother sent him, his older brother said this. Tell him that I want to give, you guys need to have traditional games packets sent to you. And they'll come in with rules, and they'll come in with what 4 core subjects the certain games will play. They'll come with history of the game. But the only bad part about that information coming from OPI, it doesn't have the deep cultural knowledge that needs to be taught also. Because those descriptions aren't going to come with, okay, say for instance, the Kit Fox information, what society that came from, what tribe that came from, or what was the meaning of the Kit Fox society and things like that. See, it's more of a general description of the game. Okay? Did that answer your question good enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let's talk about that for a little bit. Societies and clans. Most tribes are made up of societies and clans. Now, back in our traditional learning, the way natives taught, we taught through our clans and we taught through our societies. Each clan, each society had their elders that would teach the knowledge that group needed to know based on their age. Yeah? So when we're playing the Kit Fox Society game, they're teaching, those elders there are teaching the information needed for that age group and for those society members. Now, if this kind of confuses some of you that may be non-native, you're hearing society and clan. Okay, just imagine this. That is our educational system before modern education, before Western education. That was our K through 12. That was our undergrad, our grad school, and so on. Because if you look at, I'm going to use my tribe as an example. We have a society system and we have a clan system. But in our society system, we have societies for young people. We have societies for adolescents. We have societies for older people. Now, in some societies, you'll say, okay, well, that person that's in that higher society is very young. Well, that's what we call a young elder. It's a person that was born and raised with deep knowledge of their tribe, or of their clan, of their society. So they moved up that ladder a lot quicker. It's like our achievers nowadays, where you see 17-year-olds with a PhD or something, or those are just those kids that are just, we call them mini polka meaning special child. Those are our high achievers. Now, I'm in two different societies, but I'm not allowed to talk about those things, but I can explain it in a general sense. So that was our educational system. Our educational system is based on oral tradition. And maybe that's why my PowerPoint just couldn't get itself together last night, and it just fell apart on me. And maybe Creator was just telling me, well, if you're going to teach oral tradition, you have to teach it orally. You can't have all these things to cheat with. So a lot of my stuff today is just oral presentation. And I know sometimes one of my professors told me, sometimes if you talk too long, you get your class drifting off about 10 minutes into their happy place, where they're going for lunch, things like that. What are their kids burning down now? Like this person right here, I'm wondering what they're doing. Yeah, you. So that's just a little bit about our societies, but to discuss them and talk about their roles and things like that would take a long, long, long time. So let's just stick to games right now. Unless you have certain questions, and I could just kind of give you a brief answer on those.
And just to give you a heads up, we've got about 20 minutes left.
Okay, 20 minutes left in traditional games. Can you, oh, maybe I can switch right here. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
All right. Now, traditional games in history. I always like to talk about history from a female's perspective because I've had so many great female teachers in my life teaching me things, and I like to honor women a lot. And these women right here were the first world champions in basketball in history. The 1904 Fort Shaw Indian School basketball team. It's a pretty amazing hidden gem out in the middle of nowhere. You find this tribute to that team, and there's some nice pictures of those girls in their traditional outfits and in their basketball uniforms. But you know, when it comes to playing games, I think in our DNA we're just fierce. We're fierce at when it comes to games, because it's almost like war. You know, when I used to play basketball and cross country, elders would always tell me, "You're not going out there to play. You're going out there to count coup." And when I got in high school, I thought, wow, that's really a cool concept. I'm going out there to count coup. And a long time ago, there used to be instead of saying we're going to war or we're going, you know, we're going to go take lives in a war, we used to say we're going to go make them cry. And it wasn't to make them cry by killing one of their comrades or one of their family members. The term made them cry, to make them cry, is to make them cry by you counting coup on them. Now, to count coup on somebody is not really to murder them. To count coup on somebody is to see how close you can get to your enemy. And you whack them with a willow or whatever you have as hard as you can and ride back to your group of warriors. That's counting coup. That's one version of counting coup. Some tribes have many versions of counting coup. Some have 4, some have more. Now you could count coup by touching your enemy. You could count coup by whacking your enemy and making them cry. You could count coup by knocking an enemy off their horse. You can count coup by taking their weapons from them. All those things are going to make an enemy cry. So when we played sports, you know, elders always told me, you know, count coup, make them cry. So we take a W away from them and send them home with a L. Huh? So those are some of the traditional teachings in games. Is you want to count coup and make them cry. Now on this hoop and arrow game, I want you guys to make handles like this if you can, because they last forever. You've seen these the carved ones, right, with the bark? Those are cool, yeah. But I like these ones because this is rawhide. Just get it wet. Get some wet rawhide, cut it in about a 1/2-inch strip, and then wrap it around there. And then sew it. Sew it on one end and sew it on the other, and use some tacky glue and just glue it on there good, and it'll stay forever. And once that rawhide dries, it just solidifies, so it doesn't come off, it doesn't slip or anything. Now, if you're decorating the rear end of this arrow with horse hair, do the same thing, but only thing this time, use your sinew and tie it off at the beginning and then wrap it really tight all the way down for about 1 inch. And then after you have it wrapped and tied down about 1 inch, then take your tacky glue and soak it in there really good and let it dry, and that'll last forever and this hair won't come out. Okay? Now, just for ideas, say you want to make a set of these sticks and you want a set of arrows and you want one set one way and one set the other way. So make one set with black horsehair and make the other set with white horsehair. Now the same amount of arrows, and then there won't be any arguing of who shot what with what arrow. Okay? Just ideas to decorate your arrow so you can have full sets. Same with your, like earlier I mentioned, your Salish game, your Salish and Kootenai game, your arrow throwing game. All of them have 4 arrows, and each one has a marking on it that shows who owns that arrow. So use that on your team sets, because kids will argue about, oh no, that's my arrow, when they get them all individual like that. And like I said earlier, on the Buffalo Runner sticks, make them so each one is individualized. Because if they all look the same, then you're gonna have kids disputing whose is whose. Let me think here. Let me think. Now, those of you that may have joined late, remember the bark after you strip these willows, if it's super green, you could, it comes off in really long strips. You can make your hoops really naturally and use that that bark, that wet bark, for string. And it holds up really nice, makes a good hoop. Now, for those of you that are working with really young kids and you want to build up hand-eye coordination, and you're still working with that one willow, right? Cut a piece of stick off. See, size of my arm right there. And put some sinew on it like that. About 1 foot of sinew or 2 feet of sinew. And make another hoop. Whether you make your hoop out of your shavings, or you could use a metal hoop like this one. Now let's just make this game really quick. This game is for little kids. It's safe for little kids to play, so K through 3, if you are watching, this is your game.
And we do have a question. What did your tribe use to decorate before we had Walmart and craft stores?
Oh, we went to Shopco. No, just kidding. What did we use to decorate before Walmart? All right, let me answer that question before we go into that. Okay, so we're going to this dice game here. How did we decorate before Walmart? Our plant-based paints. You got your different clays that make different colors. You got your different, like Indian paintbrush that makes different colors. You got your red ochre. You got yellow plants. You got purple plants. You can make a lot of different colors. So there's where we got our Sharpies from the natural world. And those different colors. The sinew that we use on all of our games, the sinew comes from the backbone of a kill, a deer or an elk or a moose or whatnot. You'll find all that sinew on the back straps. So when you tell your husbands, they come home and they're all excited about back straps, right on top of the back straps is all the sinew. And if you take that sinew off and don't let them destroy it before you cook it, take that sinew off and let it dry, and you'll have a bunch of sinew, and It's the strongest stuff ever. Everything you could find out in the woods. You could even find your needles, you know. Needles are made of bone. Sharpen them and they can go through buckskin. Needle sinew. Before we had metal knives, obsidian knives, scrapers. To my crow friend down there, you know Colson Park, eh? I see her with her dark shades on. Colson Park, I was there hiking. I used to go to MSUB, and I was hiking along those cliffs there, and there's like a cliff, then it dropped down, and then there was another cliff, and I found this old ancient fire pit there in the rock. And this ancient fire pit, it must have been there for thousands of years because it burnt down into the rock probably 6 inches. So I knew that was a well-used campsite for something. And when I stood there at that fire pit, I could look towards Miles City for hundreds of miles. And this way to the west, I could look, geez, it seemed like hundreds of miles to the west. So I imagine that was like a site where people camped as a lookout. So I became more intrigued about that spot, thinking, okay, I know I could find something around here. So I started doing circles around that fire pit until I got into the brush. And when I came into the brush, what did I find? I found a stone scraper, hide scraper. It must have been hundreds of years old. Somebody left it there. And I tested it out on an elk that I shot that year, and it just fleshed that thing really well. All that time sitting out in the elements for hundreds of years, and that thing was still as sharp as a hunting knife. So that's how we cut our sinew. That's how we cut our willows. We had all those different natural tools already in existence. So we didn't really need Walmart then. We had it all right there in the natural store. So back to this game here. This is a good game to develop hand-eye coordination. Now I just took one of my little hoops and I tied it to this hoop with some sinew. And those K through 3 kids can play this. See, that's how you score. It's almost like hoop and arrow games, huh? Because you're still trying to get it in there. Eye-hand coordination for little kids. And this is great for grandparents to play with their great-grandchildren or grandchildren, because they can also take part in a family event and do this with kids. And you know, as people get older, their hand-eye coordination isn't that great anymore, and this game will keep them nice and sharp.
And what is that game called?
What is this game called? I actually forgot the name of this game. Jeez, I just had a brown moment. Notice they didn't say blonde. He'll come to me. He'll come to me. There's my first blooper on trying to teach on virtual madness. Oh yeah, so we talked about the colors and things like that. This is natural red ochre. This is one of my paints, and it is really a good paint because you put it on something, it's gonna stay marked. See, I just barely got a little bit of that red on my fingertip, and it's already blending in, so the stick could be made red. Out in nature, you could pretty much find anything you need.
We've only got about a couple minutes left.
Okay, we only have a couple of minutes left. Is there any questions from you? I haven't heard from anybody. You guys just been listening to me Gab and Gab. Shoot me some questions, people. If you guys don't, I'm really gonna take away the door prize I promised all of you.
I don't have a question, but my stepmom just said that she had these from her grandpa in North Dakota.
Oh,
So that's some
nice.
arrowheads. And then is
Yep.
this one of those scrapers you were talking about?
Yes, it is. Wow. Does it
Oh,
have
there's
one
another
side that's really, really flat on that scraper?
They're both pretty smooth. And
I mean, one
then
side that's really narrow.
this one kind of.
Oh
right
yeah,
here.
that probably was a scraper. It fits right in the palm of your hand, huh?
Yeah.
Good find.
Cool.
Come on, you guys, ask me some questions. I'm full of answers. You know, it's one thing about this pandemic, and it's taken us out of our natural environment. And as educators, it's taken you guys out of your natural environment and put you into your home environment where you get to kick back and relax. And it's kind of hard to get back in that swing of teaching, right? Because I know for me, coming here today, I just felt like my head was on backwards. That it was going to be it was going to be really difficult, especially doing it online. So
Somebody
it is.
did ask if any of your work is anywhere online to view on YouTube, any other kind of videos or tutorials of any kind?
On the Smithsonian in DC, they filmed me there teaching their staff on traditional games. Not much of it is videoed because you know, a lot of the things I talk about are things I want people to be present for. Because when we teach things in a traditional native world, you have to take part to earn that traditional knowledge. You know, it's not something that we want to put on social media just to have mass numbers learn. We want them to learn in a more intimate setting, one-on-one setting, where just like how I was taught, like an elder teaching me. You know, not a screen. So, you know, I know this was very difficult for me to teach because usually I have all these games spread out, and usually I have all of you guys right now outside screaming and running and going crazy. And I apologize that I can't bring you guys outside to play, because you learn so much more of it when you're actually doing it with someone. You know, it's that's probably one of our traditional teaching tools also is you know, we're visual, and we're visual learners, and Native people are naturally they learn a lot quicker when you're doing things together, more as sitting there reading something and trying to memorize something. So just think about that when you're working with your classrooms. But also remember, one willow can make you so many different things. And I like to mix up my presentations with not just one tribe, but multiple tribes, because I have enough games here to teach from 187 different tribal perspectives. And that's throughout North America. I like to pick up as much knowledge as I can from every tribe that I go and work with or research with, so your information is solid and authentic.
All right.
So again, if you guys want me to come out to your school and do a half day or a full day, contact me. I like working with the teachers and the student body. some of you schools that bring me out on an annual basis. I appreciate you and love you and love all your students. They all show great enthusiasm, and we usually have a great time. So if you guys want my email, it's nightgun007@yahoo.com.
Thank you.
Igakidamatsun means see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.